Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mike Armstrong podcast show. And today I'm joined by Sharon Marrell, who is a speaker and a coach all the way from Oklahoma in America. And
Ohio.
Ohio in America. Sorry, we've just met, and this is our first chat for the podcast and the YouTube channel. You're not the first person, Sharon, that I've had on my podcast and YouTube channel when I've not met them before. But most of the people I have on are people I've met already a number of times through networking. But it's great to have you on. And how are you doing today? You okay?
Well, I'm great. Thank you, Mike. Yes, we're doing real good here. Just happy to be on your show with you. And it's been really interesting over here in the States, especially with our lockdown in various states around. And for us, especially in Ohio here, I'm up in the Cleveland area where we've got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, of course. And we've been struggling a bit, having to wear masks outside all the time, of course. And so it's been a big adjustment. And right now, I own a music academy along with my business. And so we had to make an adjustment when it came to it back in March. We had to move all of our lessons because we do a lot of, string lessons. We do band lessons, piano, guitar, anything you can think of, voice. And they all had to go to online. And a lot of people struggled with that. They really liked in-person lessons. So we went and we did that for a while. And then back in May, we were allowed to start in-person lessons again. And we brought back a few of those people, about 30 or 40. And so we have about 100 who are still on Zoom, but it's been working out okay. And after that, what I did actually during that time, because we were closed, the store, the brick and mortar actually was closed, I was at home really reinventing myself. So it was really exciting to go and be able to reinventing myself through my speaking career, because I put that on hold for a while, and it was time to take action. And I got a lot of mentors that were very supportive and helped me through just recreating myself and getting this more off the ground. And it's just been really exciting. And I'm just so happy that I had the opportunity to do this. And so it's really just an exciting time right now to reinvent myself and create something new.
Yeah, brilliant. And, you must be psychic, because the first question I usually ask people is what they've been doing in lockdown, and also what have they been doing to pivot their business during this time? Because, most of the people I know who are entrepreneurs, they've all been, mostly being creative during the lockdown period. And most of them have been doing exactly what you've been doing is, well, the doors are shut, the shutters are down. So how do I go online? So, some of them were already online anyway, so I haven't had too much to change. But lots of people have actually done exactly what you've done, and worked out how they can pivot to doing online. And then some of them now, and actually, some of the networking clubs that I belong to, etc., they decided to keep some of the online stuff going forward, as well as bring back some of the real world stuff. So is that your intentions as well going forward?
Yeah, especially like when I think about my music academy, it was always in the back of my mind, and people had suggested, oh, you should do lessons online. And I always kind of said, nah, I'm not going to do that. And it forced us to do that. And it's worked out where people liked it. So we're certainly going to keep that even once, this is all over and we're back to just all in-person lessons. That's enough people. And even with doing my speaking, at this point, I'm doing like a mastermind online right now with some people. And so I'm almost doing this in reverse order. It's like I can't go out there and speak in person at this point, but I am determined to create anything online, whether, it's a course, it's a mastermind. So I'm like doing this in reverse order almost, which is kind of cool. So I'll be set up for anything online and creating, recurring income and that type of thing, so that when it's time to go out there and be able to speak at conferences and things like that and associations, well, then I'll be ready to go do that too.
Yeah, it sounds like you've been through a very similar sort of situation to me, because prior to lockdown, I was doing a lot of social media marketing and a lot of, text and web-based stuff. But I sort of found my voice during the lockdown, I think, and decided, you know what, I want to become a speaker. I want to speak on stages, of which I've done quite a bit in my life in a career, when the opportunity has come, or when, I've been required to. But I decided actually I'm going to make a career out of that, which is why I created the podcast. I thought, well, that's a great learning curve, if you like, or learning ground. And once I started doing the podcast and got comfortable with that quite quickly, I thought, well, I might as well video it at the same time as well. And it's all about efficiency then. You get more content created in the same amount of time. So that's what I've done. Are you doing, so obviously you're doing, you mentioned you had a podcast, off air before the interview. You mentioned you had a podcast. Are you doing YouTube videos as well?
Well, yes, what I'm doing actually is with the mastermind that I'm working on, we are actually I'm recording those Zoom classes. So what I do is I'm taking bits of those and I've put those on my website. And so I'm taking like just a couple few minutes of important things out of that and putting them up there. So it makes it nice to have little chunks up there. And they'll also be on my YouTube channel too. But yeah, it's been amazing. Like the people I work with, mainly, I like working with sales people who like are in training, or even, I would say sales people that are top performers, maybe between like ages 30 and 40, who are kind of enmeshed in it and have gotten their feet wet, but now are ready to take it a little bit further. They know that I'm good at sales, but there's something more that could just give me that edge to really get the best client, to deepen relationships. And so, what I'm doing is I take people who feel like they haven't been heard, or they're feeling like, wow, I can't make this connection, things fall flat. And so I'm taking the sound of their voice and I'm using various vocal techniques to have results where they are more confident, they come across as more believable, more likable, and it turns into being more revenue for them and, increase their client list too.
Yeah, that's interesting, because we've both done a similar sort of change during this lockdown. And actually, I'm not teaching those people the same as you, but I'm actually working with the same people. So nearly all my podcast followers, I'm 42, and I used to be a corporate sales director. And so, I've been in sales since I was like 15, an entrepreneur since I was 11. So I was selling at 11 to 15 really, as well as a bit of wheeling and dealing. And those sales guys, they're the people that are following and listening to me, because they're, a lot of my followers are in their 30s, and I'm in my 40s. And that's what people, usually people a little bit, a generation behind you or whatever, will look up to you and realize that actually you know a little bit more than they do, and you've got something to teach them. So you're teaching them, if you like, how to find their voice and become better presenters and better talkers, etc. And I'm giving them some of the personal development stuff that I've learned later on in life, and I'm giving them some of the tricks of the trade. Like a lot of salespeople, for example, they're very good at sales, but they're not so good at marketing.
Yeah.
And vice versa. A
Right.
lot of people at marketing not so good at sales, and I think you should master both.
Yes. Oh, definitely. Because you do have to have, even with my music academy, it's like I have to do sales also, and I have to train my staff to do sales. And we have the systems in place, whether it's the phone script or the databases for following up on prospects. All that has to be in place, and then the marketing behind that brings those warm leads in. It's all combined, and you have to have it all to make it all work together and end up getting you clients and revenue coming in, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And that's where social media comes in as well, because social media these days is such a big part of marketing. So, it's its own area on its own, really, but it's only
Yeah.
an element of marketing. But it's such an important element of marketing these days that, if you're a salesperson, you've got to be able to find your voice, ideally, so that you can start doing videos and putting in, referral messages on video to your clients so that your video can get you referrals, or, because of, you want to put some videos on YouTube or on TikTok, or, soon, it's starting to get a bit more businessy, and
Uh-huh.
you need to be able to have your voice in order to put your message across and sound professional, and, be able to be, intriguing to people, and trustworthy, and all of those sort of things, which is why people will come and listen to you, or, be
Yeah.
the lead coming to your business, or buy from you because they trust you.
Right. And there's an interesting statistic. If it's about what makes you believable, and if you had to choose one of the three: words, emotion, or physicality, which do you think would matter the most?
Emotion.
Okay, good, because it really is actually, it's 7% of the words. That's all that counts inside of being believable for words. It's just 7%.
Yeah.
Emotion is 38%, which is really vocal tonality.
Yeah.
And then physicality is 55%.
Okay, so
And
I've
that
got
was
to
a
do that.
study that was done. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
it's amazing when you think about that. If the words matter the least, how can we utilize that emotion and physicality to make us be believable? And it's like through changing the sound of your voice, that's going to be the easiest way to do it.
Yeah. And yeah, well, to me, what I think builds trust is authenticity. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And you're going to pull that out, especially in the sound of your voice and the way you're coming across. You're
Yeah.
going to be authentic. If you're bringing across that confidence, if you're bringing across gratitude, happiness, passion, that's all going to become authentic when you're using the sound of your voice and creating that through it.
Yeah, and I think years ago, people used to try and be not authentic and be professional, if you like. But I think being professional this day and age is just being the authentic you, being genuine,
Yeah.
true to yourself.
Yeah, and a lot of that too, like for sales, when you were just using a script, it's like, oh, great, you can read the script, but that doesn't mean anything.
No.
It's how you're bringing it across and being authentic about it and being passionate about the thing that you're selling. If you
Yeah,
can't
and
do that,
using your
you've
using
lost them.
using your personality.
Yeah.
Being genuine. But it does help if you've got a better personality, so you can work on improving your personality. Yeah.
Right, right. Exactly. But when you think about it, I mean, that's a lot of it is also part of the sound of your voice. Because if you take someone who's just, monotone and they're just constantly talking on the same note, blah, 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 you are going to tune out. You're not going to listen anymore.
That's yeah,
So
that's
it's
what happened to me. That's what happened to me when I first started doing YouTube videos, because I was talking to a phone, and I was
uh,
sat down a lot of the time. I was unanimated, and I looked at it and I thought, that's shocking. You know, that
yeah.
was part of the reason why I wanted to do podcasting, because uh, I wouldn't be so flat. You couldn't see the flatness, if you like. Yes, I thought I'll do podcasting, and then when you get more comfortable doing it, then your actual personality and your tone and all of that comes across. But as somebody who's a people person and I've always communicated with people all my life, it was quite hard to just talk to a phone and sell to a phone. And I think a lot of people find that difficult to start with, and then so it started off being you know lacking passion and energy and
Yeah.
enthusiasm and being monotone and all the rest of that. But obviously,
Yeah.
the practice makes perfect, and the more you perfect and practice your speaking and being comfortable with your topics and all of that, the more then you go into sort of autopilot. You become more natural. Things. You're not so nervous, and your personality starts coming out a lot more then.
Right. You're not sitting there thinking about what you're going to say. It just starts to be a part of you and it's all natural and you have fun with it.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, I'm a big believer in what you do, works, if you like. I myself, I'm a sort of self-teacher in most things that I've learned. Like, I taught myself SEO and social media. I'm a detail person, so I'm the sort of person who plays around with the whole functionality of a phone and not just use it for text and going online. And I do that with all social platforms and everything because I like to teach. So once you know how everything works, then you can provide it to the people who only ever look at 60, 70%. So I'm quite unique. I like to teach myself stuff. You know, there are other people like me as well, but lots of other people need help. They need somebody like you who knows what they're doing to actually hold their hand and take them through the process. So what you're doing is a good thing.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I agree. I love doing the same thing, just taking that thing apart and analyzing it. I mean, I even since I was a little kid, I I took things, mechanical things like clocks and stuff, and took them apart, and I want to know how things worked.
Yeah.
And I was the kid who took my dad's How Things Work book and looked at how does a washing machine go together? It was just that kind of stuff fascinated me. And I ended up actually I repair musical instruments. So,
Okay.
and I self-taught myself to do, I had to teach myself to do that because there really wasn't anywhere you could go to actually learn it.
Yeah.
So I'm real good. I mean, when it comes in computers, the same thing. I'll figure it out. I'll ask for help when I need it. But boy, I just enjoy figuring that kind of stuff out. And then when you get to teach it to somebody, it sure ingrains it into your head a lot more then. And then you got it down at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And yeah, it's nice to figure it out and stuff. But also, I've been using Google and Ask Jeeves before Google, and finding out how to do things. All you need to do is, for me, I just need to be shown something once, and I'll generally remember it, and then just apply it. Because if you don't apply it, you forget it quickly. But as long as you then apply it, so you get the muscle memory of doing it, then all of a sudden that thing you didn't know how to do just becomes ingrained as part of you, really.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, brilliant. So you told us a little bit about what you're doing at the moment and some of your musical past, etc. Tell us a little bit further back than that. What did you used to do for work? If you did work before self-employment and that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah, I have so much fun experiences because I'm in love with having adventures.
Yeah.
And I mean, at one point, I used to be a veterinary technician and working with animals. I've loved to do portrait art. I've done that before. Uh, I've I've also directed choruses too. And we put on huge performances and done things like that. So I just have a kind of a wealth of just doing so many various different things. It's like
Yeah.
at times I sit there, I've made a list before and going, wow, I've done all this. This is so cool. It's pretty exciting to be able to almost play out a bucket list in a sense. So I really am into, I love going to, I've been to Bermuda 3 times, and I had the experience of actually repairing band instruments in Bermuda.
Okay.
And it's a funny story because I was at a conference and this guy was there. His name's Shine, and he was saying, "Hey, anybody want to come to Bermuda? I need to get instruments repaired. I want a technician to come." And I think everybody thought he was kidding. And I went up to him. I said, "Shine, are you serious? You want somebody to come?" And he says, "Well, yes." And he said, I'm paying for the flight. I'm paying for your room. I'm paying for
Yeah.
everything. I'm like, I'm in. I'm in.
I can't even
And it was,
repair musical instruments, but I'd be in too. I'd work it out.
right,
I'll Google it
right.
when I'm there.
And oh my gosh, what an experience. I mean, I got to know that island. It's only 20 square miles, and I knew it right and left, and you could go around there and everybody knew who he was. And I would say, "Oh yeah, I know Shine." And they would go, "Oh yeah, I know him," and da da da. And it just would be amazing, the people I met and how wonderful that experience was. So I'm very fortunate to be able to have some really cool experiences like that.
Yeah, and I've had a lot of good travel experiences as well. I'm adventurous as well, so sounds we're quite similar people, I think. I've been to the British Virgin Islands, which is lovely, and also Cuba, which again,
Ah,
some adventurous places, and Vegas and Hawaii, and I've been around, to some interesting places, and I love to travel and see new cultures, etc. But it sounds to me we're quite similar. I love adventures as well, and
yes.
I've got a sort of a philosophy, if you like, of saying yes to things. I say yes to most things. I'm asked to do something or whatever. So not that long ago, before lockdown, I was invited to London to the Latvian Chamber of Commerce. And I'm not Latvian or connected to Latvia in any way. But
Okay.
I went up there on a Saturday, which is about 2.5, 3 hours away. I done a 45 minutes or 45-minute or an hour talk to the Latvian Chamber of Commerce about doing business in the UK, and then I had about a 3 hour trip back. So I spent about 6 hours traveling for about 45 minutes talking. But
But it's about the adventure, you know?
I love doing things like that. Random things. I just love doing random things, and keeps you alive, keeps you grateful for life and enjoying life, and you meet great people, and people are fantastic. They always got good stories, and there's always that's why I like chatting with people on my podcast.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you never know what story's going to come up and what you're going to hear. It's just people are so interesting, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's why reality TV is so popular these days, because people are interested. People like people watching. I'm a people watcher myself.
Right.
When we connected on LinkedIn, I didn't even know you were in the States. I thought you was in the UK. I do have international guests on my show, but I'm so busy at the moment booking people and recording the podcast and putting them on my YouTube and on my podcast. And I'm so busy at the moment that it's impossible for me to know. I can't do that much research into people, and I don't like doing the research either. I like the conversation to be natural and organic and not too planned.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I thought it was a great opportunity and I saw that, where you're from and I'm like, "Oh, this would be so fun to do. Why not?" you know?
Yeah, exactly. I think my first, I had two podcast interviews with two people from my network in Ireland. I got a network, I network with people in Ireland. They were podcasters and they interviewed me because we were all part of a network and they interview most of the people in that network and whatever. So I was on their podcast. And then the first one I went on to then when I decided actually I wanted, it was probably from those chats that I decided I wanted to do my own podcast. And the first podcast I ended up then was Canada. I ended up on a podcast in Canada, and I didn't plan it. It was just happened to be that way. And actually, that was really good. That covers something that you mentioned earlier on about your list of all the different things that you've done. One of the podcasts that I went on, run by a chap in my network, um, he takes you through your life story, literally starting from as early as you can remember, and he takes you
Wow.
through a chronological journey of your life over about a 2 hour interview.
Whoa.
And that's a really good thing because it's you remember all these things from different stages of your life and you think back to them, etc. But you don't
Yeah.
necessarily go through them all in a logical order. That was the first time I've ever done it. I never really thought about my
Wow.
life, but he'll ask you questions about your whole life, and it's quite a cathartic thing because you start realizing it's a bit like like when you've watched a movie before and then you watch it again and you see more things because you're aware of how it
Yeah.
ends or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a bit like
And
regressing through your life. You go back through all of your life and you're seeing it all now from where you are now and not from where you were at the time.
right, right. I had a similar experience not too long ago, within the last month and a half. I had to do that same thing, but I had to write it down. And after a while it was like, "Oh my gosh." I just wanted to record it and say it rather than it just was taking so long, and it was crazy, but it was fun because I saw some things that I had forgotten about, first of all. So it was nice to kind of revisit that, and putting it all together has you see kind of how you are in the world. Like, oh, you know what? I do this because of that. It
Yeah.
it ends up creating you realize what your mindset became because of an event.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, when you
And it
when you really regress back in order and you see the orders, you think, okay, that's why I ended up doing that. And then that was the point where I decided to go that way. And you see all of the different forks in the road, if you like.
yeah, yeah, it's amazing. And it turns things around too, because you can look at it and go, okay, you know what? I'm changing that up. I don't want that to affect this. So let's change the mindset. And here's who I am now. It's like you can declare whoever you want to be. And so that you can have that abundant life and just be transformed at any moment. It's really
Yeah,
cool.
exactly. It takes one day, one second, 1 minute to change your life completely. I'm big into the personal development space, so I've been learning off the top people on the planet for since about 2017. Before that, I was a lifelong learner, teaching myself skills, but learning off YouTube and, when I couldn't do something, but finding out how to fix it or how to solve the problem. But now I've been learning off some of the best people on the planet
Wow.
at what they do, and it's just amazing, how much information you can get off some of these like 70, 80-year-old people who've been at the top of their game for 50 years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's great.
Yes, fantastic. A lot of them are American. Most of the big personal development speakers, they all seem to be Americans. So, I want to make it big as a speaker on a global basis at some point. So maybe I might have to come to America to do it. You never know.
Yeah, right.
The thing is with America, it's a much bigger
Oh.
audience, isn't it? So you can get a lot more fans because it's just a much bigger population.
That's a good point. That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. What
So
are some of the people you're thinking of? Who are you thinking of?
So some of the people I listen to, well, the guy I really admire, and he's probably the closest person to me I've ever met in my life who's at that high level, is Grant Cardone.
Okay.
But also, I love like Brian Tracy. I like Robert Kiyosaki, Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, his son
Hmm.
Jarek Robbins. Um, well, Sharon Lecter. I've
Yeah.
listened to most. Dr. John Demartini.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
Brown.
Yeah. There's a lot of good ones for
There's a
sure.
lot of some really
Yeah.
really good inspirational speakers, educational speakers.
Yeah.
Really knowledgeable people. Dr. John Demartini, I met him. He come to an event in Wales last year, and he's read over 33,000 books, and he's like a
Wow.
mentor to a lot of top entrepreneurs and top guys on the planet. And I'm really interested in the subject that he talks about a lot, which is sort of psychology and physiology.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I,
Yeah.
I, I've been an amateur psychologist, probably from 18. When
Uh-huh.
you're in sales, it's always the way you improve in sales is by understanding people and understanding
Right.
yourself and the way you improve as a manager is by understanding people. So I've always studied psychology. That's why I say I'm a people watcher. I love watching people because I like to know what makes them tick.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it makes sense because if you're, especially to be a leader, you've got to know how people are reacting and how they're thinking to be able to respond to them and have them respond to you and be able to follow you and take your lead.
Yeah, I would say I'm very empathetic, and when I managed my sales teams, I used to do man management rather than blanket management, where a lot of the managers in my company would have to get people on their team who they could manage in a certain way. They fitted the mold because they weren't very good at managing other ways. They could only manage one way. So they
Hmm.
used to recruit people to fit a model, whereas I used to adapt my style to whoever I was recruiting or whoever I was managing.
Oh, yeah, yeah. This that is very relatable, especially as a teacher. You've got to adapt to how people learn, how people, react the best way to be able to have them grow. So it's learning the person and being able to say, hey, why don't you try this?
Yeah.
Might not be something that would work for you as an individual, like for myself, but I know that, hey, this could work for this person to have it be most effective. So you got to be able to change and try different things and make things work for the individual. Because it's not about, you, it's about them.
Yeah, well, there's three major learning styles, I think, and there's like reading, and there's audio, and there's conversing. There's different ways, and like, yeah, a lot of the time, some teachers try and teach or educate one way, and that will only appeal to or attract the people who like to be taught that way. It's like me. I know loads of entrepreneurs and loads of top people who love reading books. I'm now a massive book reader. I'd much rather listen to the audio or watch
Yes.
the video. That's the way I prefer to do it, because I don't like to sit still and stuff. So usually I like to do the audio because I'm doing other stuff as well, and I can concentrate that. I'm able to listen to the information whilst I'm still doing something else.
Exactly. Yep, I agree. And then do you like bump the speed up too, because I want to get it through it so I can get on to the next thing, get to the next one,
I don't do that so much just because of the technology. I'm usually listening to it on my phone. I don't know if you could do that on the phone, but I probably could take it in fast because I talk quite fast. I try and slow it down a bit, but I can talk fast. Us sales guys, who are used to talking can get the words in sometimes before the objections come. So, so yeah, but yeah, I love talking to people. I love listening as well. Listening. It's hard when on these conversations. I got to try and steer it to a certain time, and I've got to try and get the things out I want to get out of the conversation. And sometimes like I say, I don't work to a plan. I try and see where the conversation goes, but I have forks in the road or questions to ask if it dries up somewhere. But sometimes I could literally be on them for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. Some of the people I just, I literally would love to just do nothing more than chat for 3, 4 hours. But
Wow.
that would be a long episode to try and download. It'd be a long episode to try and upload. It might put you might not get many listeners to it because not many people have got 5 hours to listen to. So I try from like 30, 45 minutes. I think we've done like coming up to an hour, I think, on this one. But this is the end of the day now. So normally I've got them in booked in 1 hour after an hour, like that. So then I'll do the 45 minutes, I'll finish a call, post it, and publish it and everything that 15 minutes and get on another one. And I'm always firefighting, but sometimes they'll go on to an hour and I've got one next, and you just keep going. But with one like this, it's my last one of the evening, so I'm not in a rush. Also, I've got an international guest who's come all the way from America. So in a situation like this, when the conversation's going, might as well be hospitable and keep it going.
There you go. Perfect. That's wonderful.
Yeah, and actually, when I mentioned the international guest, I am on a mission to meet as many people as I can on the planet. So if there are any fellow people you're part of your network or contacts that in the States that you could introduce me to, I'd be more than happy to have a chat with them on my podcast as well. Do you do much business networking and that sort of thing?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So there's a lot of people I could think of that would be good for this that you'd enjoy talking to. So I'll definitely put the word out for that, for sure.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's always good. And obviously, I don't know too many people at the moment who are on the journey to wanting to become speakers and stuff, but I'll probably meet some over time. I do have a contact in Wales who does a similar sort of thing. She's a broadcaster. And she's a broadcaster, and she teaches people leadership and speaking skills. And what I'm thinking there is, you could potentially be connected to each other and bounce ideas off each other and stuff.
For sure. Yeah, I'd appreciate that introduction. That would be great. Definitely.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that one, and that's where I always sort of, once I get to know people, especially if we connect more on social media, just stay in touch and stuff. When I meet people, sometimes you meet people and you think, oh, you need to speak to so and so. So sometimes you meet these people and you think, oh, I know somebody who you get on with brilliantly,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
So
doing that.
definitely, yeah,
Yeah, I'm doing
I
that.
could hook you up with some.
I'm doing that at the moment with I met a power networker from the southeast of England, and I'm from Wales, which is near the southwest of England, and I know a lot of people in the southwest as well as Wales, and we're doing that at the moment. We're swapping, nearly every time we have a conversation about anything, it leads to an introduction between one of his and one of my contacts.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. So
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
Oh,
brilliant. So
wonderful.
yeah, and you said you had a podcast. You still doing it or not so much
I
now?
no, I'm not doing that one anymore. More. It still gets a lot of downloads. It's called the UU Perspective, and it's about Unitarian Universalists in the world, kind of what they're doing and what they're up to. A lot of social justice type things, different topics, and even after, I think the last episode was out in like the end of 2017 or something like that, but
Yeah,
it's still every week there's downloads, and there's been over 40,000 downloads,
yeah,
and it's every continent. Everyone has, lots of people have listened to them, and it was really fun to do, and it is very interesting. So I'm not doing that anymore. There could be something in the future as far as what I'm doing now that could become a podcast, but I'm not ready for that at this point. Kind of what I'm working towards right now is to create some more types of masterminds, and I've got like a vocal powerhouse group that I'm starting up, and I'd like to, of course, get some people into that and signed up into that, and that's more of a 4-week course where each week we're on a Zoom call and we work on the 5 vocal power drivers, working on your voice, you're recording it, and we're getting it to the point where we can make that comparison at the end of the 4 weeks with that first recording that they've done and the last recording, to see that improvement and then take it out into the world.
yeah.
So I'm setting that up, and certainly if people go to my website, SharonMarrellSpeaker.com, they'll be able to find out more or just inquire more about that. And I certainly would love to talk to anybody about that if they want more information.
Okay, great. Yeah, and when you do speaking, what sort of subjects do you talk about?
Well, I've got different topics right now. The main thing is around working with the sound of your voice, so having an abundant life through the sound of your voice, and then also doing topics on emotional intelligence, empowering women and teens, uh, transformation and motivation, a lot of different areas as far as personal growth, that type of thing, and
Yeah.
also speaking and team building, that type of thing.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, because well, I can speak on networking and sales, marketing, social media, which are all the things I've professionally done for a substantial amount of time, and have really dotted the i's and crossed the t's, regarding the information and the knowledge in those sectors. But during the
Yeah.
lockdown period, I created 2 formulas. One's called the Smart Happiness Formula, and
Oh,
one is called the Streams Success Formula. And that's what I'm going to be speaking about and educating people on going forward. Is the happiness formula is like 5 things to do on a daily basis to be the happiest you that you can be, and the 7-step success formula are the sort of 7 pillars of success that I believe you should invest in constantly to become more successful throughout your life.
nice. That sounds really interesting. I'd be curious to see those. That sounds very, very interesting.
Yeah, I can send you some information, and I've also got episodes on my podcast and on my YouTube channel. But just for you to have an overview, the SMART stands for sleep, meditation, ability to perform, random acts of kindness, and targets. Which I believe, if you do something within all of those things on a daily basis, you'll be a happier person.
Yeah.
And then the stream success formula. The stream stands for systems, technology, relationships, efficiency, action, marketing, and sales.
Nice.
Yeah, which if you
Yeah.
concentrate on growing and developing in all of those areas, you will become much more successful in life.
Yes. Those are that sounds great. I like it.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what I've just created them during lockdown, and I feel that's my life mission now to go and teach people those formulas, like because they come from me, they've come from inside me, and they've come out of me because I was listening to a talk from somebody else, Jarek Robbins, son of Tony Robbins, and he was mentioning
Mhm.
about 5 steps to happiness, and I was actually living that at the time, so it really resonated with me. And I decided to turn what I was doing at the time into a formula, and I've called it SMART. So it's the SMART happiness formula. And then
Yeah.
what I realized then is actually success is a big part of my happiness. And so by going through the 5 steps of happiness, I ended up pivoting and doing the success formula at the same time.
One
My
led to the
brain was
other.
thinking that way, and it ended up growing from the smart happiness to the success. And then I thought, actually, that's what these are the sort of core pillars of success. And I love helping people. So whereas I've been helping people with sales and marketing, which are two of the pillars, I now can help them with systems, technology, relationships, efficiency, and action, which are also things I've always done all my life to become more and more successful.
Yeah. It's like the whole picture, whole
Yeah,
life picture,
that's right.
putting it
Yeah, and
all
it's
together.
yeah, and all of a sudden it come together during lockdown when you're starting to be creative and thinking about things. All of a sudden, all that extra stuff which I knew was things I was doing and things I could teach other people. All of a sudden, they started adding up to the marketing and the sales and thinking, you know what, that's much better to teach people, a whole 360 holistic view on how to be successful is much better than just teaching people marketing and sales skills.
Right. Yeah. Because then you're missing other things if you're only focusing on, couple areas out of all that. Yeah, you need it all.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, if it's a bit like going to the gym. You can't just work out on your right arm or your left arm or your left leg and your right leg. And missing the stuff.
Right.
You need to work on every bit of it in order to be the fittest, most energetic human you can be. You've got to work on all of
Yeah.
it, and to be the most successful, you've got to work on all of those areas of what I consider to be the 7 pillars. But actually, the one key secret I think of any coaching, but also of those formulas, is to work on your mental strength.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Again, it's mindset, really,
Yes. Yeah,
whatever you want to
mindset.
call it.
'Cause
Yeah,
you're not going to
exactly.
learn anything unless you've got the right mindset, and you're not going to implement anything that you've learned anyway. How many times do you listen to great speakers and see loads of people, and half the time those people are just going to go back to what they do every day and not really take the action needed to implement the change needed to get the benefit of the education that they've just received.
Right. It's creating habits.
Yeah.
So that's what I figure inside of what you're talking about and what you have to offer. Obviously, there's got to be habits created for all of those pillars to come together and work.
Well, that's why they're formulas rather than just topics, if you like.
Ah,
Yeah. So the happiness
yeah.
formula is a
Smart.
formula of things to do on a daily basis to become more happier.
Yes.
Success formula is things to do on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis to make sure you're investing in becoming more successful.
Yep. That's right.
It's
That's
all
great. I
habits
like it.
at the end of the
Formula.
day. Yeah. It's all habits,
Oh,
isn't it? Unless you do something consistently and persistently, you're never going to get anywhere.
exactly. Yeah. Isn't it like muscle memory? You got to do it like 7,000 or 10,000 times before it sticks.
Yeah, well, that's what they say. It takes 10,000 times to become an expert at anything, practicing 10,000
Ah,
times. So, I love those
yeah.
sort of sayings, the master, you know, the master began by knowing nothing, those sort of
Yeah.
sayings. And I do.
Yeah.
And, a journey of a thousand miles starts with the first step.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't
Oh,
matter how much education and information you have in your brain until you actually take action and start forming habits. It's just information.
that's true. Not going to go anywhere with information.
No, no, exactly. Like, so
alone.
yeah. So
Yeah.
outside of work life and business and stuff, what do you like to do in your spare time, in your free time?
Well, I actually have, there's my wife and I, we have our granddaughter who actually just this past May became our daughter. So her name is Leilani. She's 3 years old right now. And so she's just a joy and very fun to be around. So a lot of times of that spare time is spent just playing with her and, just watching her grow and just trying to give her the experiences that, she can really benefit from and just have fun with.
Yeah.
And also I do too. I like to travel too. We try to do little trips close by if we can do it right now. And, someday we'll be traveling again, hopefully. And just, I love being outdoors in nature too. I really enjoy that also.
Well, you live in the right part of the world for that. Then Ohio
Yeah.
um, is in the Midwest, is it?
Yeah. Yes, we're right on Lake Erie. So
Okay.
part of the Great Lakes.
Yeah.
And my town is actually called Lakewood. And so just a mile up the road is Lake Erie.
Yeah.
So it is really, it's, yeah, real beautiful place, beautiful area.
Is it sort of the sort of terrain that's in? You probably seen the film Rambo?
Well, we've got more kind of some hills in this area and some nice parks that are in valleys and things like that, and wooded areas, that type of thing. If you go a little west of our area on the other side of the state, it's super flat. So
Okay.
there's nothing there. So it's the nicer area where we're at.
Okay, yeah. So you get a
Yeah.
lot of people going camping and doing
Oh
all the
yes.
outdoor pursuits, similar to Wales. There's a lot of outdoor pursuits. A lot of people come from London, England, and from around England into Wales because we're a lot more rural.
Gotcha. Okay. Yep. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
A lot of Americans always say to the Welsh, because Wales is like a bit like Canada to England. We're next door, we're the neighbour, but we speak the same language. Well,
Ah.
but we're like next door. So, but a lot of people in America will always say, "Are you from Wales, England? Where's this next door?"
Okay, I gotcha. Yeah,
So not
I
everyone
would have.
really, not many people know where Wales is because we're not as well known as say Ireland as the Irish,
Ah, okay. Yeah, I would have made that same mistake. So,
That's why sort of, it's a popular one. The UK, most people know it as London, England, and then they think everything's in England. But the UK is made up of four provinces, which is England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. And I'm from Wales.
okay, good. I'm glad you're giving me this geography history here because.
Yeah. Well, the thing is with Americans, they don't do as much traveling outside of America because there's so many states to go to
Oh,
that you don't have to
yeah.
go anywhere else, do you?
Yep, you're right. And then it's easy, to go to Canada and that
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
So,
exactly. You go to Canada, and that's whereas I find with the Canadians, they do come to Europe more than the Americans because of the French connection.
yes, right. That's true. Yep.
But yeah, we do have some American, quite a lot of them. We have people from all over the place, same as America does. But both the UK and America are probably being hit the most by the travel, by the travel
Oh,
restrictions at the moment because. I know where the UK people fly from all over to the UK, but we'll miss that part of our economy uh,
oh,
for a while, and I'm sure America will probably do the same because I think America's restricting most countries coming in at the moment,
yep.
aren't they?
Yep. We are. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So. We're even restricted to, like, we've got New York, right, just a couple states away. And if we were to go to New York, which we were supposed to take a trip there this coming weekend, we were told not to because anyone coming into New York has to do a 14-day quarantine. It's like, we only want to be there a couple days. That's not going to work. So, yeah,
No,
so states now are not letting you in,
Yeah. Well, that's the same as like so in the UK there's England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales, but there's also the Republic of Ireland, which is the part of Ireland that is its own country,
Uh-huh.
and they're not letting they're not letting people from the UK, the other four countries in because they're their own country. They can make a decision not to let the other ones in, because of
Yeah.
quarantine, and I think because the UK mainland is a bigger population, so therefore there's more cases. So
Yep.
therefore they're saying, well, we don't want to let you into our little island because you'll bring some COVID with you.
Right. Oh man, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
but they're therefore going because they have a lot of UK tourists going to Ireland every sort of summer, and that's because it's a beautiful part of the world. Again,
Yeah.
quite rural, similar to Wales. But so they're making a decision, obviously, to shut the borders down, but then it affects all the people in the country because they're not having all the visitors. So it's one of those. It's a
Ugh.
tough call. It's a tough time to be a
Yeah.
leader.
Yes. For sure.
Some tough decisions
Oh.
to make, and pretty much whenever you make them, everyone looks back at you then and go, well, "Why didn't you do this decision or that decision?" It's like it's easy in hindsight to say that, but at the time, I didn't know what I know now.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody's got a crystal ball, but everyone gets like grief for like making the wrong decisions. It's like, well, everyone's really just sort of like winging it.
Yeah,
There's no rules.
really.
Nobody knows the rules.
No. Yeah.
They're playing a game without the rules. It's going to
Yeah.
go wrong in a few places.
Yep, for sure. Can't make up the rules till afterwards, and then we're done with it.
And then we go back and say, "Oh, why weren't you following those rules at the time?" And it's like, well, they weren't the rules back then.
Right, right. Perfect.
Yeah, but yeah,
Oh,
the question about spare time then, if you've got a 3-year-old that you're
whew.
investing whatever time in, then you don't get much more time after that, do you? I remember those, I got 3 daughters and they're all teenagers now, but yes, I remember when they were, hands and feet into everything.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So it's just, yeah, it's crazy. And when I'm home or when she's home, it's like she wants me. It's just like she'll come up to my office here and she's like, don't work, no more work, no more work. And I'm just like, "Oh, I got to finish this. I want to finish this.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Did you have any? So you had plans to go to New York this year. Didn't have any plans to go anywhere else?
Uh, no. Well, over our 4th of July weekend, we did go down to southern Ohio. There was a cabin that we rented just to kind of get away and did a little hiking and stuff like that. So that's the only other one. Well, we did have something planned for September. We were going to do a family reunion, but again, it got canceled, so nothing
Yeah,
we
it's
could do
like
with
all the
that either.
events, really. They've all been
Yep,
cancelled this year, aren't they? They're all on next year. No, it's going to be a busy year next
exactly.
year.
Yeah.
It'll be very busy.
Oh.
Yeah, there we are then. Well, obviously, I could sit here and chat with you all evening, but I'm conscious we both got lives, and
Yeah. And I
uh,
actually have to go back to work. So
what's the time where you are then?
yeah, it's only 2:30 here.
Oh, it's 7:30 in the evening here,
Oh no.
so
Nope.
I'm getting hungry now. It's tea time, or dinner time.
There you go.
But I'd
Ah,
like to say thank you very much for coming on my podcast. I've had a blast.
yes, it's been great. I thank you too, Mike, for letting me be on here. It's been wonderful and great getting to know you too.
Yeah, brilliant. And like you say, let's stay connected on social. And if ever there's anything else you want to come on and talk about or promote, what I'm planning on doing is once I've gone around my network and got everyone on once to talk about themselves and the business and lockdown, I'm going to go back round to everyone again and do a deep dive on a particular subject matter that they want to cover.
Yeah, that would be fun. That would be
Yeah, so
perfect.
so in your case, that might be, do a deep dive on speaking
Yeah.
and what people need to do, or on a course that you're doing or anything so
Okay.
yeah, I've always got strategies in place for once. So the whole idea for me is to be consistent. So although I do different length of episodes and videos and podcasts and all of that, the themes, I got features and themes and they're consistent. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
when I'm always coming up with a strategy, it's always got to be a long-term strategy that you can keep to. So obviously, the only reason I could do these dual chats is because one, I knew I had a big network, which meant I knew I wouldn't run out of people that quickly. And in fact, I could have just done one a week, but I'm sometimes doing 3, 4, 5 a day. So that's because I'm confident I can keep going with the network, and also.
Yeah.
And also, I know that I can go back round again and round again and round again because the people I network with, they're usually entrepreneurs and they usually know quite a bit about a number of different subjects. So you can always just deep dive into those different areas as and when people want to talk about them. So
Yeah.
happy for you
That's
to come on again in the future if you decide there's something else that you want to talk about. And obviously, if you do get a podcast up and running again yourself and you want me to come back on and return the favor, I'm more than happy to do that as well. And
Oh, that'd be
and if you get any speaking engagements where they want somebody from the UK, and if I get any speaking engagements where they want somebody from America, especially with online events that can be, guests from
oh,
anywhere,
you
uh,
bet.
then yes,
Be
we'll stay in
happy to do
touch.
that. All right, we will. That'll be great. Wonderful, Mike.
Brilliant. All right, then. There's nothing else left for me to say now other than have a great day. I know I will. And thanks very much for listening.